I think we spent years, frankly, at this point, saying how do we ratchet the bar across the board up for Halo 2?
The difference between good enough and awesome is so big, and I mean, there's standards set by everyone here that, I mean, good enough sucks. You can't do good enough.
After reinventing the console FPS with Combat Evolved, Bungie would make a game that somehow managed to make its monumental predecessor look tiny in comparison. That game is Halo 2. Hello and welcome back to my little video series on the original Halo trilogy. If you're new to my channel, I recommend watching the previous video before this one, but with that being said, let's get into Halo 2. Although Bungie hadn't planned for a trilogy of games, the wild success of Combat Evolved gave the studio a chance to revisit many story and gameplay ideas that had been cut from the first game. With a higher budget and a dedicated development team, Bungie wanted to make a game that was much more cinematic and polished than the first, and one that made use of the now well-established Xbox Live service. At E3 of 2003, Bungie finally gave fans a glimpse of what they had been working on.
What you good people are about to see is an operation in progress. This is a real-time feed. No smoke and mirrors pre-recorded bullshit.
Although the audiences were stoked on what they saw, Bungie walked away from E3 with a much different emotion: anxiety. Turns out the E3 presentation was smoke and mirrors. In a quote from the engineering lead on Halo 2, Chris Butcher said, "The graphics engine that we showed at E3 2003, driving around the Earth City, that entire graphics engine had to be thrown away because you could never ship a game on the Xbox with it. Through putting ourselves through hell, we were able to do a 5-minute demo of it, but after we came back from E3, we had to admit that this graphics engine was never going to work. It was never going to support the kind of environments that are really important for a Halo game. So we literally scrapped the entire graphics engine and started from scratch." Bungie's ambition had gotten the best of them, and with a little over a year left before the 2004 deadline, the studio was racing the clock to develop the tech that could push the Xbox to its absolute limit. This meant that many assets that had been created for Halo 2 were stranded without a home for nearly a year, and many cuts and changes to the game are also what resulted in Halo 2's now infamous cliffhanger ending. The original story was almost the entirety of Halo 2 and 3 in one game, but it just wasn't going to fit. The game only really started to come together in the final months of development, and in another quote from Chris Butcher regarding the crunch time work, he said, "One of the things I always say when people talk about crunch now is that the crunch we do now is the good kind of crunch. It's the crunch where you're putting in the hours because you really want to, because you know it's going to make the game better. The crunch on Halo 2 was, oh my god, we're fucked. We're all going to die. Months and months of that emotional negative tone was really hard to deal with, but at the same time, we did a lot of awesome work." While Bungie was working their asses off to finish the game on time, hype for Halo 2 was reaching massive levels. In the months leading up to the game's launch, Microsoft commissioned an alternate reality game to promote Halo 2 called I Love Bees. Appearing as a beekeeper's hacked website, ilovebees.com was first hinted at in a Halo 2 trailer where the URL was quickly flashed at the end. People who had previously participated in augmented reality games also received jars of honey with letters inside spelling, I love bees. The website slowly unveiled an audio drama of events taking place in the Halo universe, with more pieces being revealed as fans solved real-world puzzles. One of these involved the site revealing 210 pairs of GPS coordinates and time codes, leading people to payphones that would ring at a certain time and ask the player questions. The I Love Bees ARG would end with players being invited to one of 4 cinemas where they could play Halo 2 before launch. The unusual and unique marketing campaign was an enormous success, and hype for Halo 2 led the game to a then record-breaking 1.5 million pre-orders. With a 3-year wait finally over, the sequel to Combat Evolved launched on November 9th, 2004, selling 2.4 million copies in the first 24 hours, making it the then highest grossing entertainment product ever. Now, something I want to talk about real quick. When you boot up the game, even from the title screen of Halo 2, I feel like you can tell you're in for a treat. The music of the Halo games has always been a highlight for me, and my favorite soundtrack of the trilogy by far is Halo 2. Much like the campaign story, the music is kind of darker and more emotional than the first game, and the title screen illustrates that beautifully. A somber, atmospheric track with this shining glimmer of hope from the piano. It's probably like my favorite title screen of all time. I mean, like, Final Fantasy VII is pretty good, Last of Us is good. Shit, maybe I should just make a video about title screens. But anyways, Halo 2 is a big deal. Halo 2's campaign is much more cinematic than Combat Evolves, in terms of storytelling with the more elaborate cutscenes, but also gameplay set pieces. One of the biggest surprises and best kept secrets of Halo 2 was the introduction of the Arbiter. Bungie had pulled a total Metal Gear Solid 2 and introduced a new playable character, one that offered a different side of the story countering Master Chief's. Some fans were upset by this decision, but I think he's pretty damn cool. Between 1 and 2, Bungie made some significant changes to the gameplay of the series. They dropped the aiming reticle down slightly, got rid of the health bar, added vehicle hijacking, vehicle destruction, ghost boosting, hidden skulls, and dual wielding. With a wide assortment of weapons, new and old, many of Halo 2's guns could be dual-wielded, offering even more strategy to the two-weapon system. The trade-off for dual-wielding is that you couldn't throw grenades, and if you did a melee attack, you would drop your second weapon. The smaller SMGs replaced the first game's assault rifle, and while the true power of the Magnum was sadly lost, Halo 2 gave us the battle rifle, a 3-shot burst rifle, one that truly felt like a deadly weapon and would become a staple in the competitive multiplayer of the Halo games. Also, remember how in the first video I said I was gonna talk about the sword? I meant like right now. The energy sword operated differently from most conventional FPS melee weapons, one that let you lunge into an enemy, instantly killing most in one badass swipe. This lunge feature would also eventually be exploited for glitches too, but I'll get to that later, and I actually will get to that later. Even though the campaign of Halo 2 was a very big deal, the main course was definitely the multiplayer. Retaining the split screen and system link features of Halo 1, Halo 2 expanded on Combat Evolved's multiplayer in nearly every aspect. More customization on your character and player icon, this time allowing you to play as an elite. A dizzying amount of custom game options, only surpassed by future titles in the series. Unique, varied, and interesting maps, each with its own character, with more added as DLC. I mean, these are like some of my favorite Halo maps, with classics like Lockout, Ascension, Ivory Tower, Warlock, and of course, Zanzibar. The multiplayer was somehow deeper and more addictive than its predecessor, and we haven't even talked about Xbox Live. Xbox Live had already been an established piece of shit subscription service before Halo 2's arrival, but it needed a game to really prove its innovations to console multiplayer. Much like Halo 1 was the killer app for the Xbox console, Halo 2 was the killer app of Xbox Live. It not only brought the addictive combat of Halo Online, but it laid the groundwork for how almost all modern console shooters operate, for better or worse. Halo 2 introduced a new matchmaking system where instead of one player setting up a server and waiting for others to join, the game used a playlist system that would make it so that there were always games available to be matched into, but with a rotation of maps and game variants. Once you picked what playlist you wanted, say Team Slayer, you would be thrown into a game lobby with other players while you waited for empty spots to fill up. What's crazy to me is that there was also a ranking system going on underneath all of this that would attempt to match players up based on skill level. You could even view your skill level and statistics on Bungie.net. This system worked wonders for always being able to find a game of Halo, and the lobby matchmaking system made playing with friends incredibly smooth and easy. Even though the original Xbox didn't have an Xbox Live overlay to invite and add friends like the 360 does, Halo 2 integrated these functions beautifully into the game itself. Making a party with friends for matchmaking or a custom game couldn't be easier, and you could even use a headset to only communicate with your party within a match or to talk shit to other players, which, I mean, no one did that. Nobody swore on Xbox Live, it was fine.
Anybody who comes in front of my face, be destroyed.
In unranked playlists, you could even do split screen online with a guest account, a feature that isn't even available in a lot of modern shooters. Of course, a lot of this stuff is commonplace now, but it's crazy how much Bungie paved the way for console matchmaking. They basically wrote the blueprints for the next generation of online play, all on an original Xbox. All of this innovation did come at a cost though, in the form of cheating. Now, there's a variety of glitches in Halo 2, ranging from fun shit like super bouncing or butterflying to cheap shit like standbying your router to freeze other players when you're the host, to questionable, really kinda neat tech skill type shit like BXR and YY. In Halo 2, you can cancel your melee attack if you have full ammo by hitting X, or if you switch your weapon by hitting Y. This allows you to do stuff like sword cancels by lunging at a player and canceling the move before you hit them, so you can do shit like butterflying where you're underneath a guy because he's on top of you and you keep repeatedly doing that really fast and you're climbing the wall and it looks hilarious. You can use this glitch a little more strategically though and do shit like the BXR, where with full ammo, you melee someone to kill their shield, immediately cancel that melee, and then get them with a headshot, hence BXR. On the flip side, you can also cancel a reload animation or melee attack with Y, allowing you to skip the last unnecessary part of a reload animation by quickly cycling through weapons towards the end of the animation, YY, or canceling a reload altogether so you don't get caught with your prance down reloading. These sort of tricks are kind of similar to Super Smash Bros. Melee tech skill, where the developer isn't super stoked on it, but the competitive community loves them. Although Halo 2 would eventually lose its title of most played game on Xbox Live to Gears of War, 2 years after Halo 2 launched, Bungie's multiplayer would remain a dominant force until the launch of Halo 3 in 2007, partly due to its involvement in the MLG Pro Circuit of 2006. Back in the early days of esports, Halo 2 was one of the first big televised events for competitive gaming presented by the Boost Mobile MLG Pro Circuit. So sick, dude. Although the production is a little cheesy now, it was really cool to see the best Halo players in the world compete on TV with Halo legends like Walshy, Karma, Gandhi, Ogre 1 and Ogre 2 BXR the shit out of each other while pulling off some of the sickest Halo shots I have ever seen. The truly fascinating and impressive thing to me about the original Halo trilogy is how each game offered an enormous innovation to console gaming. Halo 1 brought excellent FPS controls and multiplayer to console. Halo 2 transitioned that online in a beautiful package. And Halo 3, well, we'll just have to finish the fight later. Sorry for the cliffhanger ending. I'll see you guys next time.